Hello friends, another interesting discussion that happened at the GNC Spring meeting today was about home churches. Some SDA members meet in small groups in homes or in other places, and the General Conference has released guidelines to support those churches, those home churches, and part of the guidelines is the encouragement for those churches to return a faithful tithe. Faithful tithes. All right? So let's listen to this.
Another set of guidelines. You will recall that at annual council we had a very interesting discussion regarding what was termed house churches. House churches mean different things to different people in different regions of the world. One of our previous speakers, Daniel, you know very well what house churches mean in your region. You and John and Steve work in that setting. In Europe, there could be a different understanding of what a house church is. A house church could actually be an actually authorized church that meets in an apartment or a house because they don't have a physical place other than that to meet. But they are organized under church manual regulations as a church. Maybe in some large city somewhere, this is the situation. Maybe in a very rural area, they meet under mango trees, but they're organized. Thank you, Doug. Mangoes are good. They're one of my favorites. You meet under a mango tree and they don't have anything but maybe a little bit of thatch or something, but they are organized as a church. The organization of the church itself is a key factor in whether or not we officially call them house churches. Now, house churches can also be small groups that spawn other small groups and never intend to actually become, quotes, organized churches. They're more like a company or maybe just a small group. So there are differing ideas, different concepts. When we had our discussion at annual council, we came to a situation where basically we referred it back to the church manual committee. After annual council, I convened a small group of people to just brainstorm, to try to understand how we are to approach the subject. We had a very good discussion. And I asked Arthur Stelle to chair a small group that would hammer out a basic framework of guidelines to help divisions know how to deal with varying situations in regions in their divisions. Again, this is not policy. This is not going into the church manual. These are guidelines because we didn't want to leave that subject just hanging in the air. So the guidelines that will be read to you and presented to you actually were discussed at the Church Manual Committee. Gerson Santos is the secretary. Billy Biaggi is the chair. They were referred on to the administrative committee of the General Conference and are now coming to you as recommendations for guidelines that stand apart from the church manual. So please don't connect church manual with these guidelines. These are guidelines that are now being recommended to you to be used in how to approach what we term house groups. Now, the interesting thing is that the church manual already mentions specifically by name house churches and house groups and small groups, etc. So I think in the reading of this and in discussion that may ensue, you will understand better how we are trying to define as guidelines how to proceed with this particular emphasis. I would underline, and I think Gerson will do so, it is important that anything that is called officially a church should be organized as a church. Now, in some places, don't get me wrong, if you call it a house church, but it's really a small group, that's understood. But everything, whether it is a small group, whether it is a house church, whether it is a house group, whether it is a company, as we know it from Church Manual, whether it is a church, everything should ultimately be connected to the local conference or mission. There is to be no exception. People can't say, oh, I didn't like what that pastor said last week. Let's form our own church. Just come over to my house. We'll start services. And then, down the line, we will tell the conference, we have a church over here and we want to be represented at the next constituency meeting. Well, who are you? Well, we're a church. We haven't organized you as a church. Well, we call ourselves a church. That type of thing we will definitely avoid. In fact, there is language in the guidelines that will address that. So with that introduction, again, these are guidelines, and we hope you will see light in moving ahead so that you at least have a framework with which you as divisions and unions and local fields can work. Gerson.
Thank you, Elder Wilson. Yeah, you made it very clear. I just want to highlight it again that this is the main purpose of these guidelines in the pursuit of to fulfill our mission of making disciples in different contexts and share the three angels' messages. We may use different ways, different methodologies to present it in a more effective way, depending on the cultural context, cultural or geographical. So we are presenting this document, Guidelines for House Groups, and as it is stated in the document, and we discussed it last year, the Church Manual mentions both house groups and house churches. We prefer to use the title house groups to avoid the confusion that the chairman just mentioned earlier. And from different parts of the world, from India to Ethiopia, from Finland to the States, and from the rainforests of South America to the bustling urban centers of Asia, we've seen different ways these small, flexible gatherings are reaching people in ways that traditional models sometimes cannot. So this is the main purpose, as you stated very well, Elder Wilson, to enhance mission effectiveness in different contexts. The guidelines for house groups, and I'll read. This won't take more than just a few minutes. In New Testament times, Christians often gathered in homes for worship and fellowship. Bible texts are presented. Today, a similar small group relational approach can effectively build strong disciples who reach out to their communities. This model is indispensable in the advancement of mission, especially in closed countries where open worship is forbidden or difficult. It has also been effective in certain secular and post-Christian contexts, and when reaching out to adherents of other world religions. The primary purpose of establishing house churches is to advance the mission by expanding the gospel's outreach. The Seventh-day Adventist Church Manual provides a helpful overview of this practice, and I will quote 3 paragraphs from the Church Manual. Where a number of isolated believers reside near one another, or where they belong to a small group, house group, or church planting core group, they should consider forming a company of believers for fellowship, worship, and mission with the objective of growing into an organized church or multiplying house churches in the geographical area. Company status is approved by vote of the conference executive committee, which, should it become necessary, may subsequently dissolve the company. The division and/or conference should have written guidelines for organizing companies within its territory. Church members who are part of small groups or house groups may form the nucleus of a new company. Membership of all those who want to be part of a company should be held in either the conference church or a local church, also called mother church. If membership for those who want to be part of a company is to be held in the conference church, the conference executive committee will vote their membership transfers to the conference church and indicate that they are part of the new company. So these are the paragraphs that we find in the church manual. And now we are coming, based on those paragraphs, the need for definition. The above statement from the church manual acknowledges the following levels: small groups, house groups or churches, or church planting core groups. Another level are the companies, and a third level, churches. Well, just for clarification, the difference between small groups, house groups, or church planting core groups, there is a footnote, and we can quickly move down the document, please, and let's read here. Usually the main difference between small groups and house groups is that small groups meet during the week separately, but come together for worship in a local church on Sabbath, while house churches or house groups have their own worship on Sabbath. The next important definition is regarding when the church manual uses the phrases house churches and house groups interchangeably, referring to the same group of people, although a fully organized church can meet in a private home for worship. Here, the phrase is used for house groups that are not organized as a church or company. And Elder Wilson made this difference in the introduction. We are not talking about organized church status of an organized church. We are referring to a group of people, of believers, meeting in a house. The church manual provides no space or legitimacy for a loose-knit aggregation or independent house churches. And referring to core groups, church planting core groups, in some places we call it branch Sabbath schools, which is referring to the same ministry. So let's go back again to the page 2, line 7. The church manual also describes 2 legitimate objectives for small groups or house groups. They can either aspire to grow into a company and eventually an organized church, or to remain similar in size while multiplying other house groups in the same area. So the following are recommended for house groups to function most effectively. And we have here 5 important areas or guidelines. Number 1, membership. Church membership resides only in a local church or conference church. A number of house groups can be organized as a simple church or as a company and remain under the umbrella of the conference church or a mother sponsoring church. Representation at local conference mission constituents meetings is only possible through the organized local church. Number 2, leadership. House groups should be led by dedicated and well-trained leaders who are essential in preserving the church's theological identity and mission focus. These leaders should receive supervision and support from a senior district pastor or network leader, and whenever possible, a designated coordinator at the conference level. Number 2, regular meetings. While flexibility is essential to accommodate specific geographical and cultural contexts, house groups must intentionally stay connected with the mother sponsoring church or conference for prayer, worship, and coordinated mission activities. Number 4, oversight and support. Consistent oversight is crucial to maintain unity and alignment with the mission and identity of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Pastors or conference leaders must provide regular support and guidance to ensure house groups function effectively and remain theologically sound and mission-focused. Pastoral care and oversight will ensure that house groups will reflect the theological position of the church. And number 5, Adventist identity. House groups must be approved and accountable to their local mission or conference. They should actively promote the study of the Bible, spiritual prophecy, and Sabbath school study guides for all ages. They should be encouraged to use the World Mission Reports and other resources produced by the church. They should also promote a faithful return of tithe and giving of offerings through the local conference or mission system. And the last paragraph, divisions and unions choosing to implement house groups within their territories should develop or adopt specific guidelines to ensure consistency and effectiveness in their operations. This will ensure that these groups remain aligned with the broader mission and teachings of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, while also addressing the unique needs and opportunities of their local contexts. The Chairman, I move we accept and record these guidelines.
Second.
All right, so that was what happened at the General Conference Spring Meeting today. The next meeting is going to be the GC session. All right, and we are promising you that we're going to give you updates. All right, we're going to share with you what is going to happen right at the GC session, and we are not only going to share, we are also going to comment. Not myself alone, but you will also share your thoughts in the comments, friends. So today, basically, I decided to share with you what happened at the GC Spring Meeting. I have posted 2 videos, so if you did not get a chance to watch the first video, you have the link in the description, and also you can search on the channel and you're going to find the video. Friends, basically, I'm ending here. I love you so much, friends. Let me know how you are enjoying this channel right in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time. God bless.